My name is Olivia. I'm 36. I live in a small rented apartment in Seattle with large windows that let in too much gray light most days. I work as a project manager for a mid-sized tech company. Meetings, spreadsheets, deadlines that never feel finished. I have a cat named Juniper who knocks things off shelves when she's bored. I used to think that was the most exciting part of my life. 10 years ago, I was 26 and convinced I had everything figured out. I had a fiancé named Ryan, a promising career track, and the 5-year plan laminated in my mind. Engagement ring by 27, wedding at 28, first child at 30, promotion by 32, house by 35. I checked boxes like they were items on a grocery list. Ryan proposed on schedule. I said yes on schedule. We bought matching towels and argued about whose name would go first on the lease. Then, at 29, the plan cracked. Ryan got a job offer in San Francisco. Better pay, better title, better everything except me. He asked me to move with him. I said no. I had just been promoted. I had friends here. I had roots. He said he understood. He left anyway. The wedding was canceled. The matching towels went to Goodwill. I told everyone it was mutual and smiled so hard my face hurt. After that, I doubled down on the plan. No more distractions, no more men who might leave. I worked longer hours. I took every course, every certification, every stretch assignment. I became the person who always said yes. Yes to overtime. Yes to weekend emails. Yes to being the reliable one everyone could count on. I told myself this was success. I told myself security came from being indispensable. By 33, I was exhausted in a way sleep couldn't fix. My doctor called it burnout. I called it Tuesday. I started having panic attacks in the bathroom stall at work, silent, choking, convinced I was dying. I ignored them. I drank more coffee. I worked more. I told Juniper she was the only one who really understood me. Then one morning in March, I woke up and couldn't get out of bed. Not couldn't, wouldn't. My body refused. I called in sick for the first time in 7 years. I stayed in bed for 3 days straight. Juniper slept on my chest. I stared at the ceiling and realized I couldn't remember the last time I had done something just because I wanted to. Not because it looked good on a resume, not because someone expected it, just because it felt good. On the 4th day, I forced myself to shower. I opened my laptop, not for work, but to look at old photos. There I was at 22, backpacking in Patagonia, hair wild, laughing so hard my eyes were closed. At 24, playing guitar badly on a rooftop with friends until sunrise. At 26, dancing in a bar with no plan for tomorrow. Where had that woman gone? I made a decision that felt both terrifying and obvious. I was going to take a sabbatical. Not a vacation, a real break. I negotiated 3 months unpaid leave. My manager was shocked but supportive. I told my team I'd be back. I wasn't sure I would. I didn't book a fancy trip. I didn't post inspirational quotes. I just started small.
I took a pottery class on Tuesday nights. My hands were clumsy, my pots lopsided, but I laughed every time one collapsed. I joined a community choir, even though I can barely carry a tune. I walked in Discovery Park for hours without headphones, just listening to the water and the crows. I read novels that had nothing to do with productivity. I slept in. I ate breakfast slowly. I called my mother and actually listened instead of rushing her off the phone. The most frightening thing I did was say no. No to extra projects. No to weekend work calls. No to social invitations that felt obligatory. Each no felt like pulling off a bandage, sharp pain at first, then relief. People reacted differently. Some colleagues distanced themselves, as if my pause made them uncomfortable. Some asked if I was okay, with a tone that implied I wasn't. A few, very few, said, "I'm jealous. I wish I could do that." My closest friend said, "You're not quitting life. You're choosing it."
By the end of the 3 months, I wasn't magically fixed. I still had anxiety. I still worried about money. But I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Curiosity. About what I actually liked. About who I was when no one was measuring me. When I returned to work, I set new rules. I leave at 5:30 unless it's an emergency. I don't answer emails after 7 p.m. I take real lunch breaks. I say no to things that don't align with my energy. I still get promoted, slowly, steadily, because I do good work, not because I'm always available. I started a small side project, teaching free weekend photography workshops for teenagers who can't afford classes. I show them how to see beauty in ordinary things: rain on a window, cracked sidewalks, their own reflection. They remind me that joy doesn't need a title or a paycheck. I'm 36 now. I still live in the same apartment. Juniper still knocks things off shelves. But I no longer treat my life like a checklist to complete before I'm allowed to rest. I no longer believe that security comes from being the one who never says no. I've learned, late, painfully, that the real risk isn't failing at work. The real risk is reaching 50 and realizing you spent your best years waiting for permission to live. So I give myself permission now, every day, to rest, to play, to say no, to say yes to things that scare me in a good way, to be a little messy, a little slow, a little human. And when I feel the old urge to overschedule, to prove my worth through exhaustion, I remember the woman who couldn't get out of bed at 33. I look at her gently and say, "You did the hardest part. You stopped. Now we get to keep going, together, but lighter."